Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Drake House. You might have saw the videos earlier where I was shooting my new toy. This is the Jericho 941 by IWI. It used to be by Magnum Research, and before that, IMI. Had a friend that had an old Baby Desert Eagle made by IMI, and really nice gun. Fell in love with it then. And when I saw that they were making them, with a few more options like, rails for flashlights and things like that, really started doing some research and picked one up. Today is the first day I've had it. And let me say that it is everything I hoped it would be and more. Definitely going to be my new carry gun. I'm getting a holster made for it this week. And after that, I'll be carrying it every day. So let's talk about it just briefly. Again, this is just first impressions, okay? So a lot of people draw comparisons between this gun and the CZ75 for good reasons. I would say that the CZ75 probably felt slightly better when it comes to recoil management and follow-up shots, but not a difference that would be easily measured. This is definitely a more ergonomic gun than let's say my Glock 19, and I'm a massive Glock fan. I'm a Glock fanboy. But the follow-up shots in this are amazing. You'll see the barrel is kind of recessed down into the slide a little bit, or into the body of the gun. That's where that management of recoil is coming from. Really nice feel to it. Let's go ahead and get my gripes out of the way, though. A very small slide. So to charge the weapon, you have to kind of get used to that smaller slide. Now, I do a combat charge every time, or I charge weapon not using like a wrist rocket or not using my fine motor skills. Every time I charge the weapon like that, there's no front serrations, but even then I can get the grip on it, so it's not quite as important. If you're charging your weapon the right way, you're not going to have a problem with it. Now, press checking the gun, I can still do it. Might be a little bit difficult if you're used to press checking with the front of the gun. I don't recommend press checking, but if you do it, that's fine. Just make sure your gun gets back in battery. But anyway, so the small slide is a dislike. The magazines, they're supposed to carry 16 rounds, plus one. They carry 15 rounds, just like a Glock. So I don't know if maybe it comes with different magazines, but the gun has been advertised to me 16 and 1 up, so 17 round capacity. That is not true. As of right now, that's not true. I'll look into it and try to see if it's just the magazines that come with the gun are only 15. And maybe I'm supposed to... the last round indicator shows full at 15 rounds. And it's very difficult to get the 15th round in it. So maybe I'm supposed to keep trying to load it. I did try one time. It didn't feel right to me. So in my opinion, this is a 15 round mag. So you can throw that advantage out the window. The safety. This is the most useless feature on the gun, in my opinion. It's not an ergonomic safety. Okay, I have a SIG 380 that has an amazing safety, and I thought it was going to be similar. So if you pull out to draw, you can turn the safety off very easily and engage. This gun is not the case. It's pretty stiff. It's a little bit too far forward. It's doable if you absolutely have to do it. So I just did it there right then. But it's not the kind of safety I would want to be messing with in combat. There's no decocker, no official decocker, but you can decock the weapon. So the hammer's back. Now, if I obstruct the hammer and pull the trigger and let go, the hammer will not go all the way forward. Not that I'm going to let go like that. I'm going to slowly lower it to where it goes. But even if I tried, so the hammer's all the way back, and I try to slingshot the hammer after I pull the trigger. So I pull the trigger, let go, and I let go and slingshot it. Nothing happens. Didn't even move at all. You cannot let the hammer go hard enough to make the gun go off. It won't do it. It stops itself. Now, if you hold the trigger down the whole time, yeah, you'll have a discharge. Okay? So in my opinion, I feel confident my weapon. I'm not out in public, decocking my weapon. So if I'm in a situation where I have to unload it or load it, I feel confident that I can put my thumb right here, pull the trigger, let go of the trigger, and slowly lower the trigger, and it's going to catch itself. And I'm not going to rely on that, but it's going to catch itself. I've played with it pretty extensively. So I'm going to carry it. I'm only going to do this at home. I'll point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, let go, lower the hammer, and I've got a safe weapon. And I'm going to carry an appendix like that. And I feel very confident, just in the little bit of time I've had with it, that that's going to be, a fine option. It's not really a massive disadvantage. I just think safety could have been done a little better. I wish it had a decocker built into it, but whatever. What I like about the gun. Very first thing you're going to notice is the grip. When you grab this gun, there's no stempling done. I just got the gun today. And I like heavy stempling. This was Haltech. I like heavy stempling on my gun. Okay? A very abrasive. The new CZP-10 has a real nice stempling, just standard on it. Real aggressive stempling. This is a smooth gun. There's no stempling really. Nothing to mention. I mean, there's a little bit of a texture right there. But the way that this gun forces your grip into it, with this flare right here, it feels amazing. I'm not saying I'm never going to get stempling done to it, but I just don't feel like I need it. I mean, it aggressively pushes the gun into your hand. And that's for me coming from a background where I really like stempling. So anyway, I'm contemplating not getting any stempling done at all. So that's good. The trigger is not the greatest trigger in the world. In single action, it's damn good. Very, very light trigger in single action. But it's very crisp. It's very predictable break on the trigger. And that makes up for it not being the lightest trigger in the world. The double action is also, it's a lot harder, but it's very predictable. It's a very predictable break. It feels good in double action, especially a two-handed sport style shooting. It's not going to be a problem. Where I'm carrying the gun, there's actually like 3 types of trigger settings. So there's single action, which is very light. There's double action, which is a very heavy trigger pull with the same predictable break. And then there's the one I'm talking about where I'm going to let the hammer down. So I let the hammer down to a halfway point. So it's not all the way back, it's not all the way forward. The trigger is in between. It's not as heavy and it's not as light. So my first shot's not going to be a full double action pull unless I'm letting the trigger go all the way down, which is a little bit more dangerous. I'm not going to do that. But then it's going to be that full double action. So it's almost got 3 stages of trigger, in my opinion. And that the reset is just absolutely amazing. Now it's got a little bit more longer travel time, longer travel range than like my SIG Elite, okay? But there's no weight behind it, and there's no play. So it resets, there's nothing behind it. It's just straight breaks. Click, and then as soon as I pull down, I'm breaking on another shot, which I love. I don't like there to be play before and play after. I like for it to be on one or the other. Well, I like for it to be before, no play after the break. So, very nice trigger. Trigger reset. Very nice trigger reset. Shooting my duty weapon at work, we don't have the greatest trigger on our SIGs at work. SIG 226. It's a good gun. It's just kind of an older, outdated gun. But made me kind of take a more realistic view of triggers. It's more about training than it is about having some amazing lightweight trigger. And I think most guys would agree on that. Now, I want a trigger that's manageable and that's not super, super heavy. This is that. This is not a very heavy trigger. It's just not, it's not a super expensive trigger either. It's a good mid-ground trigger. And I I would put it on the better end of triggers as far as the guns I've shot. It's not my 229 Elite, but it's also better than a Glock, I would say, especially in single action. It's a far better trigger than a Glock trigger. So if you're not wanting to use a safety to carry, if you feel confident in your weapon handling, that you're not going to have a negligent discharge in your home, then I think this gun is amazing. The follow-up shots I took outside, which is a video on my Instagram, were amazing. It felt a lot like the CZ75 I've shot. It felt like a point and shoot kind of gun. I didn't have to fire and then find my sight. It was just kind of like, hey, I want to hit that, pop, pop, pop. Not really thinking about what I'm having to do with the gun. It's just fun to shoot, and it's very responsive. And for a subcompact, it's pretty large enough to fit an APL. Comparison-wise to my Glock, it is almost the same size slide. Now, the beaver tail adds a little bit, but if my barrels are barrel to barrel, it's a very comparable gun. So, last thing I'm going to show you is the breakdown. I was a little confused on this. When you're having a holster made, I've already talked to the guy that's making mine. See that pin? It's right here. That's your breakdown pin. It comes out pretty far. It's a pretty big pin. So the way you break this gun down is you have these two holes right here. So make sure the gun's unloaded, of course. And I'm going to pull those back. Those holes are even with each other. So the slide is just slightly back right now. And when that's done, I can push, hold on one second. I can push the pin here out, okay? So it's not, I've only done this once. So right, push the pin out, and then from that point forward, it's just like a SIG. Breaks down pretty easy. Now, something cool. Slide rests inside the body of the gun. Okay? It's totally encased inside the body of the gun. It's not the other way around. I don't know if you can see that channel, but pretty cool breakdown. Anyone looking in there is going to see a familiar sight if you've ever shot any of the modern day handguns, which is a good thing, actually. I mean, it's very similar in design, similar breakdown, just like a SIG, just like a Glock. It's not an encased spring, but just like the SIG breakdown, floating barrel. So anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed my review. All in all, an amazing gun. Definitely something I'm going to carry. I was kind of worried when I got it, like, spending the same amount of money I could have got a P10 for, the same amount of money I could have got a Gen 5 Glock for. But I'm very happy with this for a lot of reasons. This is it's a good gun. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. This is kind of my first true gun review I've done, or at least an early impressions review. And I'm gonna try to do some more, especially with my older guns. Maybe compare some Glocks to some different guns, because a lot of people are using the Glock right now. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys in the next video. Be safe.